Bonsoir, bonsoir, bonsoir tout le monde, and welcome, or guten Abend, and welcome to episode 3, I think, of the rebooted Falling Apart podcast. It's a very special one tonight, isn't it? Because we're all in the room. Sam, you'll say hello to Jim.
We're not all in the room. We're all separate, but we're all together on the pod for probably the first time in about 6 months.
Yeah, maybe virtually all in the room. We're virtually
in the room. So hello, Jim, aka Perry.
Hello, mate. How are we all? All right?
Fantastic. We're all fantastic. Big TC's sat in, so he looks like a halo because he's sat behind a window, in front of a window.
Isn't that a Beyonce song?
Front of a window or halo. So here we all are. And it feels like we've got quite a lot to talk about. And I wanted to share with everybody that we've today, under the strict instructions of our production team and executive producer, we've got a little bit of structure to the pod. So maybe we should just date stamp it as normal. This is Thursday evening. This pod's going to come into your usual pod places tomorrow morning. And we're saying that because things may change and are changing very quickly. But I've been instructed that why did we start? We've actually had some football matches. So Tom, who is the man of the people, the man of the moment, watched the Manchester United game in Stockholm on Saturday. So I only watched the highlights because I wasn't available to go to Sam's house. So Tom, will you give us a bit of an overview of the game and what you thought?
Yes, Man United game. Obviously, I know that Jim was drinking his body weight in Aperol and eating pizza. I think Sam was, I don't know, doing something with his mother-in-law, and Ricardo was probably somewhere abroad. So, yeah, it was an interesting game. It was a bit boring, which, as you can imagine, from a 0-0. But I thought my biggest takeaway from the whole game was how comfortable Leeds looked. Now, I don't know whether that was because Leeds were comfortable and are very confident, and Man United are in a bit of a transition and a shite. But we, for large parts of the game, controlled the game in midfield, created a number of chances. And if it wasn't for sort of Tom Heaton's heroics in the second half, and he actually got man of the match, which says a lot, then I think Leeds probably could have scored a couple of goals. It was an interesting setup formation-wise, and I know that Ricardo wanted me to say that it was 4-3-3, but it was, rather than playing an Aronson in a 10, we basically have 3 centre midfielders in, throughout the game in Ampadu, Tanaka, Gruev, and then Longstaff obviously came in and played parts, but it was basically 3 who just rotated positions, so when some were attacking, some were dropping in. I think that's probably what we'll see this season. I think he'll go for a more compact midfield, and maybe not that. Maybe we won't go and sign that number 10 that we want to sparkle the dust on, and maybe we'll just try and keep it really solid and make the midfield busy and hard to beat. The only thing I would say in the whole game, Ramazani missed a couple of good chances, but we missed probably 3 or 4 really strong chances that we should have taken. And I said to Jim, it concerns me a little bit that we seem to carry that trend on, and really we need to go out and sign probably that striker and maybe another winger. But the striker's crucial. I know after that, Pirro's gone and scored a few goals against what looked like a Sunday League team. I don't know if any of you seen the highlights with the penalty, where basically the keeper passed it to their defender, and the defender put the hand on the ball to roll it back so he could take the goal kick. I mean, it was just crazy.
No, keep going, Tom. Keep going. Just for when you've finished.
Well, you've put your hand up now. You've completely ruined my flow. Anyway, yes. So Man United a bit boring, but I thought the biggest takeaway for me was that we looked very, very comfortable against, and obviously a Premier League side. The only thing that I would say is, are they shit? And secondly, obviously, then we played a game a couple of days later, 1-4-1, a couple of goals for Perot. Nimcheka got his opened his account, and obviously Nonto scored as well. So why are you looking confused, Jimbo?
Who the fuck's Nemcheka?
Isn't it Mechi? You don't pronounce a silent N or a silent where it is.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely not fucking Nemcheka.
Nemetcha, isn't it? Chancellor of the Exchequer. Can I ask a quick question? So I only saw the highlights very briefly. Man United, I know that there was a lot of swapping and changing of the teams. Did Manchester United have their main players out? Fernandes, etc. All those guys were playing. It was their main team.
Yeah, so, I mean, in the first half, obviously, I made a bold statement in that before the game, messaged the group and said, if Leeds start with this team, then they're going down. And I know that it probably was a bit of an oversight because on the bench, obviously, I had Goodmanson, Longstaff. It was very much of a mixed bag in both halves. I mean, toward the end, we brought a guy called Sam Chambers on at right back who had an absolute shocker. I think that's something to do. I think that runs in the name. Yeah, I mean, Man United started with Fernandes, all of the the first team. probably for the first 60 minutes, it looked like Leeds were the Premier League team. I know Leeds are a Premier League team, but the Premier League team that have been in the Premier League for X number of decades, and Man United were the team that were coming up and trying to challenge.
I did manage to watch it, despite you saying that I was drinking my own weight, which I was, to be honest. I was drinking my own weight in Peronis and whatever else I could get my mouth around, not Cox. I watched the game, and to be fair, Tom, I think you bang on. Possession-wise, I think it finished pretty much 50-50 from a possession point of view. But in terms of how much ball we had in midfield, we absolutely dominated. And what was really good to see is they did have quite a few of their first-team players playing, and the likes of Tanaka, Bogle, they didn't look out of place. They looked really comfortable, looked really good attacking-wise. I think you've nailed it. The biggest concern is that they had 19 shots to our 4. If that happens in the Premier League season, once they've gone through a full pre-season, they've got all their additional players in, like Mbuemo and stuff, we will get punished. So I think you're definitely right. I think that highlighted that we need someone really, really clinical to take the chances when they come.
I think the thing is, with those 4 chances as well, they were all big chances. So it's not just that we had 4 shots from 20 yards out and just sort of, couldn't create anything. We created a lot of open chances, and the 3 shots really probably a couple of them should have at least been a goal. And that's the thing where we need to be, like you said, a lot more clinical, because we won't create as much as we did in the Championship. And that's the step up that we've got to try and bridge.
Can I ask the group a question? Just very quick, because you're talking, and I think we all agree, and of course we need a striker. We're going to come on to talk about Bamford and Joseph, aren't we, a bit later on. Is Muniz, if he seems to be their main target, is he that clinical guy who's going to score you the 20-odd goals, or whatever, the 15 goals that you need?
I don't know anything about him. In fact, if I'm being brutally honest, I've watched caught Match of the Day and seen him a couple of times. It looks like he's, again, a big unit, which is obviously the profile we're signing. Holds the ball up really well. I don't think he scored many goals today in the Fulham side. So I don't know, but equally it's one of those, isn't it? It depends whether they're going for him because he is a prolific striker, or they're going for him because he'll fit the style of that want to play. But then that contradicts what we're saying about we need somebody who's going to take the chances.
I think
just 8 goals last year, 8 goals in the Prem, and 9 the previous season for Fulham.
Yeah, which is not bad, is it, really?
No, and So sorry, in all competitions, 36 starts, 36 appearances, 11 goals, and then the season before 33 and 10 goals, and he's 24. And what I didn't look at his health in tall he is. He's 6'1". So what I was not surprised about, but to see is that Metcher, he looks. I was expecting him to be a little bit fragile, but he is a big unit as well, isn't he? He's well built. Yes, Tom.
Who's Metcher? Do you mean Nimcheka?
Great. Yeah. So overall, I mean, I think you're right. When I looked at the highlights a little bit of the Manchester United game, it looked very, very tedious. Effectively 2 games against SC Verl. Yeah, they're a 3rd-tier German team. That was a little bit more entertaining, but I'm guessing that's because it's like playing a League 2 team over here, isn't it? So there's bound to be more space. And I do want to talk a bit more. I want us all to talk a bit more about the change in formation. And I want to give Farke a bit of credit, because everyone said, in the Premier League, if he sticks to his 4-4-2 and he's going to get found out, or more than that, he's not going to change his style. And it looks like he has.
Can I pass this over to Sambo? Because he hasn't spoke, 1. But 2, I don't think we've changed the formation. We've just not... Aronson obviously has not joined the squad yet. We just haven't played that cam, which is Aronson, behind Pirot. We've dropped that for a centre midfielder. But that, for me, there's still the element of exactly the way we played in the Championship.
Well, the reason why I haven't spoken is because I can't get a bloody word in edgeways with you 3. And secondly, I had to go and answer the door because I've just had some power tools delivered by Amazon, which is definitely more of a priority for me than this podcast. My only takeaway from the Man United game is that I feel like we're going to try and be a lot more defensive than attacking this year. I think we have to be. And I know, Jim, you're saying about Man United shots completely outweighing what Leeds United, but pretty much every game in the Premier League is probably going to be something similar. They had, I think, 54% possession, 46 to Leeds. So I don't think it was a bad indictment, I suppose, in terms of what we're likely to see in the Premier League. And it just feels like Farke is trying to be, from a tactical perspective, trying to be a lot more sure in defence. And obviously, with the signings we're getting, everyone is over 6 foot, so we're obviously going to be a lot more physical as well.
I think that the thing that I'd only say about actually watching the game live is it wasn't a game where Man United, if you'd have said to me, Jim, I didn't even know the shots, I would never have guessed that Man United had 19 shots to Leeds' 4. And I think that probably shows that it wasn't that type of game where Man United completely dominated. I thought Leeds, and this is not me being biased, this is just, a general view, for that 60, 70 minutes, really controlled the game. And, Man United might have had more of the ball to a certain extent, but every time Leeds had it, it was very much, very thoughtful in the process and the way we played, and actually created things and sort of looked dangerous every time we had the ball.
I will caveat that shot number with the fact that they only had 4 on target versus our 3.
Yeah.
So the gap's not quite as big as what I made it out to be earlier. The point is still relevant, though.
And I thought Namucha looked really good up front for us.
Who was that?
Do you want to touch on him, actually, then, Sam? What, because I know we spoke about him a little bit in the group, but do you want to just talk about what you saw in terms of qualities from him?
Yes, that's a really good question, Jimbo. Actually, Ricardo, I think you just put your hand up. Do you want to give it a go and talk about Namucha? That'd be a really good segment.
So, Mecha, let's call that, which is his name. What I would like to say is 2 things to start with. Number 1, he's not going to be our primary striker, as you say. He's going to be a backup. And number 2, it was his first proper outing after only less than a month with the group. So he's still learning the methods. But he was strong, physically strong and good at holding the ball up and knocking it off, and actually knocking it off, not one off. He also passed it around well and was more mobile than I expected him to be. When you hear of someone who's had a bit of a bad injury record, you think, oh my God, they're going to get the ball and fall over. But he was mobile. I think, he was. I was reasonably impressed, but in the caveat that it was the first pre-season game and almost like it was slightly more than a friendly, wasn't it, because of the rivalry? But it was a safe place to start. I would be concerned if he was our option for the Prem, Jim.
Can we just touch on and get everyone's thoughts on the booing of Mr. Jack Harrison? And
I go first?
You can see Tom's sticking his fingers up at me. I'm guessing that's what he wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Can I go first with a balanced view, which is that he is a stereotypical experienced Premier League player. It wasn't his fault. He had clauses in his contract which allowed him to go and play in the Premier League if we got relegated. And therefore, I think, he was entitled to do it. And probably for Leeds, getting his wages off the books obviously helps as well. Now that we're promoted and that clause isn't there, I still think it would best for all concerned if he found another club, but there's a chance that he's not going to. And the reason I say that is that Farke was spending a lot of time coaching him in terms of he was going to get a bad reception and giving him instructions tactically. But if he didn't want him in the squad, he'd have done the same that he did with Bamford, is my opinion. So I've got a feeling he's going to be there unless they can find a suitable for.
I think the big thing is, I'm guessing, a lot of the fan base don't like the clauses in the contract, but you're absolutely right. He had them in there. But I think the biggest thing, I don't know whether you know this, is what his mum said.
I don't know. Yeah, I've heard of what did she say?
So an Everton fan yelled at her during the match, "Don't go back to Leeds," to which she bluntly replied, "Fucking hope not."
Okay.
I think that's the biggest thing. I think that the clauses in his contract, yes, it'll have pissed a few Leeds fans off. I think at the time when we found out about all these clauses, we were a bit pissed off. But ultimately, all he's done is exercise them and played at the highest level, hasn't he? So as a player, you won't say anything. But when you've got family members saying that about our club, nobody wants him back. Ultimately, it's going to be one of those things. And if he stays and he plays every week in, week out, and puts in a shift, creates goals, scores goals very quickly, like Aronson, it'll be quickly forgotten. Like Nonto, it'll be forgotten, won't it? But it's to be wait to be seen.
I'm happy for him to stick around. I will not be booing him, and I hope he plays well for us. And I know I said this last time we did a pod. I think it'll already be the manager's decision if he stays or goes. So I don't know why we're questioning what Daniel Farke's going to do.
I also think we shouldn't be castigating him for what his mother said in a crowd. That's just bullshit. Who cares? Who cares? Shall we move on from there to, because I know we don't want to bore people with long podcasts, do we? With transfer activity. Okay, are we all right moving on to that? I want to just ask one question before we move on to the activity since we were last on air. Just very quickly, Goodmanson as an example at left back and Biol. Did they all were you happy with how they performed?
I think from what you saw, again, it's hard to see because Man United, in terms of in the first half, hardly tested Leeds' defence. They all looked very, he's a unit, looks very composed on the ball. You know, you're giving the ball very clean passes out, but again, didn't really get tested. A lot of high balls up to him and pretty much won everything, which you'd expect. Goodmanson in the second half, what I would say is he likes to get forward more than Firpo. So I don't feel like we've gone from Firpo to a defensive left back. We've probably gone to Firpo to a left winger. He was literally pretty much playing up front, which is like what Firpo did. But again, it looks a unit, real athletic, and can bomb up and down, which is what we want, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm going to try and do these in order, and I think Sam has got stats on these. So let's start with Longstaff. I think he was the first one in.
So signed for 12 million quid potential add-ons. 4-year deal, runs to summer 2029. He's 27 years of age. In terms of career stats, I think this is the big one for us, is he's had 171 appearances in the Premier League, scoring 10 goals and 9 assists. All competitions for his club, he's played 301 times for, I think that's for Newcastle, but maybe a few other clubs. He's only ever played for Newcastle. Scored 34 goals, 22 assists, pretty much a goal every 10 games. Interestingly, do you want some family and personal trivia for Longstaff?
Would want him.
So he's got a football family. Does anyone know what his older brother is called?
Let's see.
Where he's playing at the moment?
America?
He's playing in the MLS for Toronto FC, which I actually didn't appreciate. I didn't appreciate the MLS was also in.
Yeah, I didn't realise that.
And it also says here he's got an athletic heritage. So his father, David Longstaff, represented the Great Britain national ice hockey team over 100 times in the British Ice Hockey Hall of Fame. So that's the type of stats you get on this podcast, not the actual interesting stats, the bullshit stats.
Can I just say as well, if he's got ice hockey in his veins, he's probably quite an hard bastard then for that.
I think it's uninspiring in a really good way, isn't it?
I'm really happy with this signing. I think we need people who are going to understand the Premier League. I mean, like Harrison. I need to go home. Like Harrison, we need people who actually understand how to play in this league and are going to give us that experience. Big TC, you can take the piss out of me. Does Harrison play with him checker? He plays with the Moocher.
I'll back that up, to be fair, Sam. I actually think I'm quite excited about that signing because from a depth perspective and experience-wise, I think it's a cracking piece of business. And then I know you're going to go on to like another signing that we've done soon, so I won't mention the name. But what I will say, Ricardo, is 2 signings in that position have cost significantly less than the one player that we were looking at in Diarra. So, I feel like it's really, really shrewd business, which we expected, didn't we, when we spoke about the 49ers?
I could maybe imagine us signing a number 10, but I really do think that he will play 3 in the centre and just have them rotating with who's attacking. Because I think I want to, like you said right at the start, Sam, we're looking to try and be a bit more defensive than we were in the Championship. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have 15 defenders on the pitch. It's more how you set up and how your shape is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't play someone in behind that striker, but we expected that, Longstaff may play a little bit further forward, or Stach may play a little bit further forward. I'm sure Ampadu will be the one that sort of sits and mops up from there.
I mean, so by the way, Sam, his name actually, if you see his interview, it basically gives you every single option. It's like Stach, Stach, Stich. That's why I like the interview. So I think this is the one player we can't actually get wrong, although we'll probably do his best. But you've got to think that he is definitely going to be as a starter. The one sort of cat amongst the pigeon that I will chuck is, we've seen Tanaka progressing forward, and I know it's only 2 friendlies against Farmers League teams, but we've seen him progressing forward in midfield. Could he potentially play more of a further forward role with 3 behind him? Who knows?
I just can't see us. I can't see us, like you're saying, 3 and Tanaka in front. I think we're going to play 3 of those midfielders and probably not see that one in front, because unless we start the season really strong and then we come up against a Burnley and we think, well, we need to get at them. And that's no disrespect to Burnley. I'm just making that was just the first thing against my head. And when we think that we should be the favourites, so we've got to get at them, then maybe he'll go a bit more attacking. But I really do think that against pretty much all the Premier League teams, he'll want to be really compact and be hard to beat.
Yeah, Did you mention, because I had a couple of technical issues, didn't I? Did you mention who broke the news on this fantastic Adonis of a man?
I think it was Fabrizio Romano, wasn't it?
Well, it was big RC when you did the first reboot. I said, I hope Anton Stach was front and centre. I think that's a fantastic signing. But so it was really interesting, though, because I was really, and I am really excited about it. But as soon as is in the door, and I've watched his highlights from him and stuff, it's like, right, we need somebody else now. And I've almost forgotten he's there. I think he's only had a couple of training sessions, he hasn't done a huge amount until the last couple of days. So it'd be interesting to see how he performs when we watch the highlights from the game on Saturday.
I don't know anything about him, but I know someone who does. So, Sambo, what do we know about Anton Stach?
I was actually going to say my favourite pronunciation of his name that Jim's just come up with is Stitch. So from now on, I'm going to call him Anton Stitch. Signed from Hoffenheim, 17.4 million plus add-ons, 4 years contracts. It says here he's a defensive midfielder, but can also play centre-back, so it gives us a bit of depth at centre-back. In terms of just some attributes, he is 6'4", right-footed, and do you want some family background? I know you like that. Both sisters are professional basketball players, which just goes to show the height in the family. Big RC, none of those. His father, Matthias Stitch, is a renowned sports commentator, and he's even commentated on Anton Stitch's matches. And also, in his youth, Anton Stitch nearly became a professional tennis player in his youth, competing at a high level before choosing football.
Can I just say before you start? So I want to try and make some sensible points about Anton Stach. His stacky stats from last year, he was in the top 4 of all the midfield things in the whole of the Bundesliga. So he was a standout player, and I think he's a bit of a coup for us, isn't he? You remember when they were linked with him? It was this is like a bit of a stretch. We're probably not going to get him. It was an aspirational target, and we've gotten through the door. So, my only caveat, just very quickly, is we've got these players who are different to who we signed, like the likes of Rocker, but they haven't got experience apart from Longstaff of the Prem. The adaptation is going to be really key.
Yeah, I thought you just said Barocca then. I thought we'd signed someone to help us hydrate.
Mark Rocker Barocca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was going to say is one of the things that I've noticed in terms of the transfers and the business that we're doing right now, with every single interview that we've had for people that have come in, have you noticed that they said when Leeds got in touch a while back, and a lot of them, they've come out and said that we started discussing a potential move back in January. I guess that the only reason I'm mentioning that is because as a fan base, let's be honest, we're going to fucking meltdown, don't we, unless we know what's happening. And the last couple of windows with the 49ers, we haven't really had a clue, and things have happened pretty quietly. It feels like this window, there's a little bit more noise. We're starting to hear about people a little bit earlier, but what's clearly happening is conversations have been going on back in the Championship 6 months ago before we even got promoted, which I really like the style of doing that, to be fair.
I think the last thing on Anton Stach is that from everything that I've read and heard, his profile is very similar to Declan Rice. Now, I know that's a huge comparison, but I think the talk about when you look at his attributes on top of Declan Rice, from what he did in the Bundesliga, very similar to the profile of what Declan Rice did in the Premier League, which is going to be interesting to see whether he can replicate that in England.
Nice.
Okay. So I think they're the two that have come through the door. Shall we? I'm going to go slightly out of my order of the names I've got in our running order, because the next one is the news that broke today that I think we're in an advanced stage now with the goalie from Olympique Lyon, who is called Lucas Perry. Jim, do you want to share with the group what your second message was when we shared that with each other earlier today?
My second message about him?
Yes.
Well, I can't really remember what that was, to be honest, so let's just talk about him in general. But
you said he was a tree of a man.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, 6'5", absolute bastard of a unit. Again, just adding to the giant FC that we're creating before the season starts. But I think we spoke about this towards the back end of June, didn't we? We said that we'd been linked and we were trying to go for him. But then they had the whole relegation issue and the Crystal Palace situation that were going on. And obviously Palace they've been relegated down now to the Europa Conference League, haven't they, from where they were. And I think that Lyon are actually in a real tricky position. when it comes to finances. So we've almost gone in there, and I don't know what the exact fee is yet. I don't know if it's about 12, 13 million, the last reported one. But we've agreed the fee. I actually I did a little bit of stalking because I know you guys like it, but there's actually a flight landing in Leeds Bradford Airport about 7-8 minutes ago. So that has come from that. Oh, I think Tom wants to talk about that. So I won't steal his thunder.
So I'm going to pass over to Sam, but he's flying straight to Germany, so he's not going to Leeds Bradford. So stop stalking some random bloke, Oldman, who's just going to Leeds Bradford for holiday. All right, you fucking weirdo. Sambo.
You don't want some interesting points about, I was going to say Christina. What's his first name? Oh, God. He is known for his penalty saves, notably in his Brazilian career. So maybe we're planning for lots of penalties against us. He's got above average distribution, strong, accurate long throws. Jim, you've already mentioned his physical side, nearly 2 meters tall, which is insane. He's got the highest number of total saves in Ligue 1 last season, and he's also got man of the match performances in cup ties. So I think this is kind of us preempting that we're likely to face a high amount of shots, and hopefully, if he's a shot stopper, he'll do a good. And also the size of him, I hope he can command his box much better than Elland can.
Did you see any of his highlights reel? They did a couple of them where he did throw a ball out and he threw it at 60 meters just to throw. And then he did one where he threw it. I don't even know why he did it, but he punched the ball, kind of did a forearm smash with it that went all the way to the other goalkeeper. He is fucking insane.
Graham Smith has said he could throw a kettle over a football stadium to give you like a his throw.
Yeah. Anything else to say on him apart from we think it's going to happen imminently? I guess with all the Fabrizio Romano posted it, didn't he? So you'd think it's going to be fairly imminent.
I think the last bit to add on all of those is, and Jim mentioned the meltdown in X with Leeds fans and how we all are. To be fair, we were a little bit the same in the group, but it's they've shown to bide the time. They're not going to overspend on players and the business that they've done. And again, the proof's in the pudding in the Premier League, isn't it? But looks like really, really good business in some key areas. And I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, on X now, I've been seeing a couple of Sunderland fans, Burnley fans, West Ham fans, Bournemouth fans today saying Leeds are quietly building a really strong team. All the talk has been about Sunderland and all these big fees and exciting players, but their starting point was 50 yards behind Leeds' starting point, and they probably couldn't spend 500 million and get close to where our squad is, so that's where we're at. And I think just my last point on Sunderland from a PSR point of view is they, in the last 2 seasons and 3 seasons in the Championship, have been behind what the loss needed was required. So actually have got more headroom now they're in the Premier League.
Just 2 things to add. Number one, why are you still talking about PSR when we've got the expert on the call?
Jim, just to let you know, I'll talk about what the fuck I want.
Okay. That's pretty strong. And number 2, this whole Sunderland thing, I think we've mentioned this before. They're going out and I think they've got a standard fee of 20 million plus for every single person they sign, whoever it is. But that's irrelevant because come the back end of the year, they're not going to have a team when AFCON starts. So, you can have as much depth as you want, but they're going to be really, really heavily hit when their players go to AFCON.
Do you not think that's a really weird strategy? Like, they know that in a crucial part of the season, all the players that they've signed, none of them are going to be available. It seems to me like really backwards, and they obviously know that, don't they? And maybe that's why they're getting these players, because other clubs are going, we can't afford not to have them for that crucial bit of the season, so we're not going to sign them this year. We'll go after the next year. But it seems bonkers to me that they'd go out and do that, and maybe they're the only players that they can recruit at that level. But to know that you're not going to have them for a crucial part of the season, it just seems.
I think at the time everybody was up in arms because they got out of the blocks quicker than Leeds did, didn't they? And what we'll do when we get to the end of the transfers in, and we've got something on transfers out, we'll maybe just have a chat about where we think we are compared to them. But let's move on from Lucas Perry, and I can't wait. I'm going to pass over to Tom just to pronounce the name of the Feyenoord winger we're linked with. I think you got that right. God, excellent. Igor Paxao. So
the only reason why I know is because it's like the gravy granules.
Yeah, Paxao. Yeah.
Jim, just say Oxford.
So, Sam, do you want to tell us kind of where we are at the moment with Igor Paxel?
No, I don't want to. I used to do the shit rumours last season, and I've decided that I'm not going to partake in gossip until our manager and esteemed leader, Daniel Farker, has confirmed the signing to us. But somebody who is willing to talk shit rumours is Perry Perry, who's got his hand up.
It's not actually a shit rumour, to be fair, this one, but I can give you a slight lay of the land in terms of where we are. So obviously we've been in for him, and then all of a sudden Marseille came in. Now, he had agreed a deal, like a 5-year, he'd agreed personal terms with Marseille on a 5-year deal. But the issue is they just haven't got the money to meet Feyenoord's valuation. So they're valuing him at around 40 million euros. And I think the last offer that they put forward was around 24, 25 million. Now, we've gone in and we've actually submitted a firm bid of 30 million English pounds. So we're not a million miles away from what their 40 million euro valuation is, to be honest. And I think right now it's just a case of we're hanging fire, playing hardball a little bit, rather than going and just paying them the 40 million euros instantly. The issue I've got with this whole thing is I almost feel like we're second choice for this guy, because he openly said that he was happy to move to Marseille, wanted Marseille over us. And then when they couldn't meet it, and he's realised that, he said he'd be open to a move to the Premier League. And in my eyes, you either want to come to the Premier League straight away or you don't. Might be a little bit harsh saying that, but...
Yeah, what I heard was that Marseille did a lot of background work or work with his family, and that's one of the things what got him to Feyenoord apparently was that they spent a lot of time bringing everybody in for the project, and that kind of helped get that preference, I guess. And I'm not sure if Leeds have done that. I don't know if they've called up Rafinha and said, "Can you have a word with this guy?"
Sam, do you want to do the stats or do you want me to take these ones? Okay, fine. In terms of like an overall career so far, he's played 250 games. He's got 64 goals and he's registered 42 assists. And actually, if we look at what he did in the league last year, he had 34 games, 34 of them, he started every single game, scored 16 goals and made 10 assists. So he's clearly a very, very good player. He can play on the wing and he can play up front, which I guess the whole point of it is he the guy that's going to replace the hole that Solomon's leaving, because we're unlikely to get him back?
Possibly. It seems like he's a bit of an upgrade, doesn't it, on how you're saying that, because obviously Solomon did wonders for us last year. Although I heard today that towards the end of the window, that might be something that could come back. Now, whether that will be if we get this guy or not, but I guess what we've got to say is we just got to watch this space, don't we? It's nowhere near a done deal as it is. I think everyone says, don't they, in the sports media, that personal terms won't be an issue. But of course they won't, because all the money's in the Prem. So I'm guessing Leeds can compete with Marseille. But let's wait and see. Can we move on to then, we've spoken about with the structure that we're building now, we needed a left winger, a goalie. We've spoken about those two. And then the next one is a striker. Okay. Now, I've put a couple of notes in the document, which is there's the old guy from Inter Milan, isn't there? Mehdi Taremi. Muniz obviously on the radar. And then the other thing which scares the shit out of me is the Josh Sargent stuff will not go away. So should we discuss what we think is going to happen striker-wise, if there's anything else that you guys have heard? I know Sam will want to contribute to this because it's bullshit rumours again.
I mean, if we sign Josh Sargent, I'm probably not going to go next year.
That's
okay. That's fair. Yeah, I can't see it happening. I really can't, because
I can't either. I can't see it happening. But you're probably going to touch on this pretty soon, Ricardo. We've gone from all of a sudden getting Nemecha Checker in as like a backup, and also having Bamford and Pirro and needing one more, to now the recent news, which I won't spoil the next section. But I don't know. Could it be someone like a Sargent, a Callum Wilson? Could there be a third choice for us potentially? Who knows?
Yeah, Callum Wilson apparently is in talks with West Ham now, isn't he? I think that's he's down there. He's down there with that. So I mean, it's obvious that they want Muniz, and apparently Fulham are in for a striker. So I think what they're doing is playing a waiting game until this thing about a striker for them comes in, which might free up them to release Muniz.
Just two things on what you said there. One, Callum Wilson, I probably won't. And then we've just been throughout, and you can't really sort of be picky and choosy, but I wouldn't really be excited about having him up front, especially with his injury record. I think that would make me a little bit nervous if he was our first choice. The second thing that I read is that Muniz is in talks with Fulham about a new contract. You look at that and you think, is that one that is maybe a little bit too out of reach? And I'm sure they're working on other targets, aren't they? Because as we've seen, they've been really busy, probably since January last year, but, listening to some of the new recruits that have come in. So I imagine that they've spoken to probably a number of striker targets and narrowed that down to a number that they think that are achievable. And I think hopefully, that'll happen sooner rather than later to get them embedded, because we are rapidly getting towards the Everton game.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of questions before we move on to the potential transfers or what we think needs to go the other way. Firstly, what do we think about a number 10?
I still think we need one, personally. I think someone who can unlock a defence, play that killer pass. We are going to need that at some point next season in the Prem, especially if we get a striker, like a striker to lead the line who's going to be our main man up top. We're going to need someone in behind who's got that little bit of magic about him, because that can turn again.
No, they are
instantly in the Prem, can't it? Having something
yeah,
like that.
They are monitoring that guy from Leicester, aren't they? Which I think is called El Canous, who's a number 10. I think that's nowhere near anywhere near anything concrete. So I know Sam doesn't like that. And then my final bit is, before we go on to transfers out, the exec producer says we need to speed up. What are our thoughts on the business so far? And because I think me and Jim have said it in the group, but we should share it with everybody. If we started the season with the team that we've got and a striker, let's just say for the purpose of this argument that Paxao is out of reach, how do we feel we're going to perform, and how's our kind of feeling on it, Tom?
I'll go first. The problem is, I think we've said this about all the signings, is they perform well in their leagues, respective league they've come from. It's a completely different kettle of fish in the Premier League, as we know. And it's really hard to say. If we'd signed all Sean Longstaff type players that have played in the Premier League and really well known, and you sort of know what you're getting, then you go, well, this is probably how we're going to perform. But I think it's really hard to sit here and say, yes, everyone's going to really take to the Premier League and perform at the level that we think they can. I think all you'd say is that on paper, they all look like signings that are going to make us better, and that's all that we can really do.
My first question to Tom is, do you think Lucas Perry could throw a kettle of fish over a stadium?
Throw a kettle of fish or throw a kettle?
Both.
I know I'm the pessimistic one. I think from our original predictions, I said we're likely to finish between 19th and 13th, and I think I'm probably still in that camp. I do think you've got to think about who are the three teams built beneath you. And I would say Burnley and Sunderland are still probably beneath us. And then it's just who else could you think about? And my top pick now for relegation, and you're going to like this, is Brentford. Just with the players they're losing, they're not really replacing them with top quality players. They've got an unproven Premier League manager in there. I do think they might struggle this season. Big 2C. Have you got an answer to the kettle of fish?
Yes, he can throw a kettle of fish, depending on whether they're goldfish or carps. That's the only problem. The one thing I would say in there, Sam, is please can we go back to the first pod when we came back and listen to what me and Jim said, because you basically just repeated exactly what we said.
I don't think there is any proof.
That has taken all of our points.
There is no proof whatsoever that you said that.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, in the next couple of weeks before the Everton game, will obviously be more signings in, you'd hope. So let's revisit this. Let's move on now, because I know we're going a bit slow. So obviously the couple of bits of big news was that Farke at the beginning of pre-season told Bamford that he wasn't in his plans, and obviously he's not in Germany. So I wanted to get your feelings about that. And then secondly, the news over the last couple of days about Matteo Joseph not going to Germany with the team and basically throwing his toys out the prom. Jim?
I'll take the Bamford one, because I know Sam's got a lot to say about the Matteo Joseph situation. So the Bamford one, while it's a little bit surprising, because we probably didn't expect it, because all of a sudden he's come back like Johnny Bravo in pre-season, he's absolutely massive now. I think I'm actually quite happy, and it's good to see the way Farke's approached this. And I'll go back to what I said in our group previously. Loyalty doesn't always keep you in the Premier League. We had it with the Messiah with Bielsa, where we had a real tight-knit squad. In the first season, we did an amazing job. We finished top 10. I think it was 9th, actually. Finished 9th or 10th in the first season in the Prem. Then we dropped a massive clanger because what we did the second season is we kept the spine of the team the same. And we relied on the likes of an aging Ayling and Bamford and other players who we probably could have done with improving. So actually hearing that he's had that tough conversation makes me feel even more confident in Farke, because he's been here before, remember. He's been in the Prem before where he's not been backed when he was at Norwich. He's getting the backing now, but what he's also doing alongside the backing is he's making them tough decisions, which is going to make us a stronger club with more depth and more ability to potentially survive. Because what you've got to remember is last season, Bamford, it might sound harsh saying this, we didn't get promoted because of Bamford last season. It played very little part in our promotion race. We cannot risk paying him a salary, keeping him as like second choice striker if he's going to be injured 40, 50, 60% of the season. That's my take on Bamford anyway.
I guess the other question from that is, because he's on apparently tens of thousands a week, isn't he? It's 70 or more, maybe. Who can afford him? Or do you think Leeds will have to maybe suck something up and subsidise his wages to go to somewhere in the... Because I'm guessing it's going to be the Champo, isn't it? I'm guessing.
He's been offered out to a couple of teams in the Championship, apparently. I think Middlesbrough's one, Leicester. And the fee, actually, is they're reporting we'd accept around £2-3 million for him. So that's not a lot for a player.
All PSR profit, Jimbo.
There you go. I was hoping you were going to drop that in. That's not a lot for a player like Bamford if he stays fit in that league. But yeah, the wages, he's probably going to have to take a significant drop because I can't see anyone in the Prem taking him.
They'll have to do a deal with Leeds, won't they, to subsidise some of that over the 12 months. Okay, Matteo Joseph, Samuel.
Yes, I think he's reported to be wanting away. I think there's been links all summer so far with Real Betis. I don't think there'd be a huge surprise for him to go. I think that it was a difficult one last season because I think I predicted that he was going to score something like 30 goals in the Championship, and then he barely scored any. And I don't think he would. Well, he definitely won't be a starter in the Premier League. And like with the Metcha and potentially getting another striker in, is whether he would feature an awful lot other than kind of cup games, etc. So I don't blame him for wanting away. I suppose it's what do we want to do with him? What do we think about his future? Do we want to loan him out somewhere and see if he improves and gets better and comes back, or would we be more open to the sale? And I know Big TC will come in and tell us about the PSR view of Matteo Joseph and what that could do for us.
I think from what I've seen, Leeds want between 15 and 20 million euros, so roughly sort of 18 million English, which I don't know why it sounds putting his hands up like that. I mean, that's the exchange rate, mate, on 20 million.
It was just because you gave a range on the euros and then only just scored it.
If it was at the low range, it'd be sort of 14 million English, higher range, sort of 18 to 19 million English. Dad knows because he's obviously just bought a property for that sort of price range, so he knows the exchange rate there. I think it's all going to be whether Leeds feel they're getting the value from it. And if they don't, a probably loan deal looks like it would be better. Obviously, PSR reasons, you'd want to, if we can recoup 15 million, it means it's almost pure profit. So we'll give us some more headroom to go out and invest. But I can't see anyone paying that sort of level for him. I know we turned down 8 million, didn't we? Was it in January? 10 million. Jimbo's just letting me know. Well, I think that was at 9.5 with his little finger.
Oh, sorry, I meant it's probably worth 10 in there. Bravo, though, Tom. That was really.
That was the highlight. That was the highlight of the pod, and that's what we should call it. I think 10 million seems like 10 million with a sell-on clause. Then you've got where that goes in for coffers to subsidise someone else coming in. So let's move on. My feeling with Joseph is there's no problem with him wanting to leave, but there is a problem with him not training. The same outcome would happen, but he's ostracised himself, and let's say at the best has been badly advised, at worst is just a fucking young, arrogant arsehole. Okay, can we just touch briefly on two things? Because there's been no movement on any outgoings, if I'm right. So your likes of, I know, Jim, you said today, De Bayo wants out. You got Gelhardt and Greenwood. There's no news on any of those going. My question is, I haven't seen it. Did they travel to Germany, those two, do you know?
No.
I haven't seen them.
No, so apparently the Joffrey thing, Hull want him. So Hull want him back, but they're on a transfer embargo. So there's discussions around whether it can be done as a loan deal again, similar to what they did last year. And Greenwood, I've only just started seeing the Greenwood thing gather pace. Funnily enough, I heard Sunderland were interested in Greenwood.
I heard that as well. Yeah.
Which I think
they can have it for 20.
Or is it from up there?
It's from Sunderland, yeah.
So
yeah. So that kind of thing is it. I know we're all happy about the incomings, but to balance the books and to be financially astute, we need to move some of these players on because they're not going to be anywhere near the first team, are they? And then my final question on the current state of play is with all the midfielders that are coming in. Can you just tell me what you think our starting midfield will be, and then what it means for the people who don't start?
Glad you were paying attention earlier in the podcast when we discussed this.
It's literally went through it about half an hour ago.
I had a technical issue, so if you've done it, my question is
to repeat.
Did you talk about what that might be for Gruev and Aronson, etc.? Did you have that conversation?
Him shaking his head to fucking head you whinger. Well, Joel, where's your fucking lineup? 1 to 11. Give us the subs as well. Who's the manager going to be at Christmas? Fucking one of the 49 is going to go.
Okay, all right.
Can I just point out that he's just called Jim the Ginger Whinger, and then he's just gone off on a rant and a bit of a whinge himself.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, listen, if you've discussed it, I'll leave that there.
Can I just take this moment while it's front of mind to say to, I believe it's PJ, if I ever get the chance, I'm going to knock your head off your shoulders, just so you know.
Great. Great, yeah. Right, let's move on to a couple of other bits, then we'll go. Right, we don't want to talk more about PJ, do we? Because we all know he's a little bit of a diva, and he's a loyal follower, but he needs to wind his neck in. So since our last pod, the planning application has gone in, and all the hoo-ha about the South Stand. As 3 guys who stand in the South Stand, what are your thoughts?
Well, so there's talks of the away fans apparently being put in the South Stand once the extension's completed. And there's a petition being put together now for people to sign that to go against it. And I completely agree with it. I think that would be an absolutely horrendous move from the club. Because, and this is not a dig against the cop, but the South Stand is the stand at Elland Road. Let's be completely honest. It's where the dregs of society go, like ourselves. We're right next to the away fans currently. You've got the cheese wedge at the side of the South Stand, which is always bouncing. It's the stand that sort of galvanises the players, and it's the one where you've got the most atmosphere, to be honest. So I honestly think there needs to be a bit of a U-turn and a rethink about how they're going to do that, because I really do think that'd take a lot of atmosphere away from the ground if they put the away fans in the South.
Sort it out, Liz, I think is the question to that. And then, has anybody got any other business?
Just to say that
what is this?
This is a formal meeting. It's like a parish council meeting that the way that Ricardo's hosting this one.
What, full of nonsense?
I think we should finish it there.
Well, my AOB was just about it hasn't been formalised, has it, about Johnny Howson coming back to be the under-21s coach, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
Heritage with the club, local guy.
Can I ask you a question on that, Ricardo, Tom, Sam, either you jump in? Does that count for homegrown? Because he's not just coming back as the manager, he's coming back as player coach of the 21s.
There must be something, mustn't there? Because why would you wouldn't do that, would you? He's obviously not going to play, is he? He's not going to play, but there must be a reason to do that and to tick a box, which, again, is probably quite clever business.
Yeah, so I think that again hasn't been announced, but I think really that's a really good thing from the club. I think we've done it to death, haven't we?
I think we've had a lot of action to get through, haven't we? There's been a lot going on.
Yeah, we have.
Last one.
Yeah, we have. So it's good to be back. I think we've all concurred that we're never going to Belfast together again. Maybe separately we'll go, but no, we're not going to Belfast again. If that's the case, then we'll be back next week, won't we?
Yeah.
So on that note, this will be out tomorrow morning, Friday morning. So I hope you all listen to it. Jim, I guess I can't remember it. Can you tell people where they can follow us?
Yeah, it's just at Falling Apart Pod.
Excellent. Is the all that before you do your... Yeah, it's not all, it's just at Falling Apart Pod. So please follow us. We've got quite a few followers, but we're trying to build up again. So it's been great tonight. I apologise for my small technical issue, and we'll be back in 1 week's time. All the best, guys. Take care.
Love you, PJ.